Greetings, Dapplings, and welcome back to Captain of Industry. The last episode received an absolutely overwhelming amount of interest, so much so that it actually took a few strong cups of tea to get me through counting through all of the comments to make sure that each user was only counted once before I used a random number generator to select a winner. But as much as Dark Aavak is delighted at the idea of making you wait until the end of the episode to find out who won, I know that many of you will be squirming with anticipation, so I'll do you a solid and we'll start off with announcing the winner. And much to their surprise, I'm sure, Chaotically's Blessed Lo-Fi. Congratulations on your win. I'll leave a comment on your YouTube discussion page with instructions on how you can claim the key. And for everyone else, remember that I still have 2 more keys to give away, and so once again, I will select a comment at random from this video a day after it goes live, and announce the winner in the following episode. So again, best of luck. Alright, now in the last episode, we managed to set up our Steam generation. Now there's a lot of room for improvement here, and one of the main ways is that we're currently only using half of the steam produced, so we could easily run 2 generators and give ourselves even a larger buffer with energy production. But that is something that we're going to focus on in a little bit. There's still a few more buildings, or at least one more building, that could really enhance the efficiency of this system. But I just noticed that our second irrigated farm is up and running, so let's go ahead and start things off by hooking this up. Now we are very close to finishing advanced diesel, and that is going to be the focus of today's episodes. There are going to be lots of other little things that we can do besides as well, little things to help improve things. Now with regards to the pipes, it is worth noting that there is a throughput, and it's something I have discussed before, but it is very easy to overlook pipes until a problem arises, and by then you're going to be in a pretty panicked rush to try and solve that. Just understand that regular pipes can only really support 1 unit of liquid per second, or gas for that matter, and right now 3 farms will more or less be okay with running on it, but you're going to start pushing the limits of what a tier 1 pipe can do. And this is why in the last episode I made a point of checking how much water per 10 seconds a groundwater pump could create. It produces just a little bit less than 1 per second, but if it produced, for example, 10 water every 10 seconds or more, then this would have been a prime candidate for upgrading the pipe network around that water pump to be able to support a higher throughput. We don't need to do that for now. But the star of today's show, advanced diesel, has been unlocked. Now, my advice with this is that whilst you can immediately start laying things down for advanced diesel, it is a really enjoyably complex system. And I say enjoyably complex because there's a lot that you can chew on and a lot you can improve efficiencies with. There's a lot of byproducts that you can turn into other things, and that, at least for me, is something I always really enjoy. Using all of the things, having as little waste as possible, makes me happy. So with that in mind, there are 2 other technologies that you should really have in mind while starting to set up your advanced diesel setup. And one is synthetic rubber, which uses heavy distillate, and the other is a sour water stripper, which produces acid, which in turn can be used with a copper electrolysis to produce proper copper plates. Now this is really, really important for us right now because I'm fairly certain we're completely out. In fact, I'm going to start the research on that right now and then just double check. Yes, we've got a bit of rubber, but we have no actual copper plates, which means we can't easily produce any new vehicles. Now, of course, I could quick build it, and the people would find the copper somewhere, but we're going to relax on that. I will generally only use that just to finish something up within a single episode, or indeed if we manage to hit a soft lock somewhere. Right now, we're actually doing quite well for construction components. In fact, we've got a bit of a backlog there, and knowing that we're about to enter a phase which is going to drastically drain our advanced construction components, let's go ahead and address this right now, right at the beginning. There we go. That'll be nice and easy, and then we can just run a simple flat conveyor straight in here, and also split off over there, and about here, and straight down. There we are. Wonderful. I'll allow them to finish that off. This will double our capacity for producing advanced construction parts, but I don't think we're really realistically going to be able to meet that demand. Not right yet, anyway. Though, on that note, do pay attention to this. One of the most recent updates added very explicit controls on truck import and truck export. This is also present on the storages, but honestly, with the storages, you already had more or less that control with being able to move the keep, full, and empty sliders around. But this now gives that functionality to actual production buildings, which is really, really good. You can become very, very detailed in how you control the way the trucks move around. But with all of that said and done, let's have a look at Advanced Diesel. And you know what? We're going to do this from the research screen because it's going to list all of the products in one nice, easy place for us to look at. Now, the first thing to notice, we're going to need a boiler for this, which is why I did electricity research first. That said, also, we are going to be pulling a little bit of power in this, but realistically, since we're going to have the boiler anyway, getting steam generation up first seemed like a good move. But the main thing is we will use a distillation heavy to turn 8 crude oil and a bit of steam into 4 heavy distillate and 8 heavy gas oil. We will then use a cracking unit to turn 16 heavy gas oil, so the product of 2 of the distillation heavies, with a little bit of extra steam into 16 diesel and 8 sour water. We don't have any use for the heavy distillate right now, so we're probably going to need to burn that off in a flare stack. But this is really, really important for one very simple reason. If we look at the basic distiller, it takes 12 crude oil, and with the addition of coal, gives you 6 diesel. This will take 8 crude oil, or rather 16 crude oil, to get the 16 heavy gas oil, and turns that into 16 diesel. So the process goes from a 2-to-1 exchange to a 1-to-1 exchange. And this will carry you for quite some time in the early game, especially once you've got oil rigs set up. Your diesel will stop being a problem as long as you've got this setup going and you haven't got 50, 60 trucks relying on it. That being said, the heavy distillate and the heavy gas oil and the sour water, well, we're already going to be using the heavy gas oil, that's how we're going to get diesel, but the sour water and the heavy distillate, these things will be used in synthetic rubber, which will take 4 heavy distillate to produce 1 rubber and some light distillate. Now, that is the same amount as a single distillation heavy produces, so since we're probably going to want 2 of them so that we can have our cracking unit running at full bore, that will allow us to produce 2 rubber from the heavy distillate byproduct. The copper refinement will use 8 sour water to make 4 acid. So we will be using all of the byproduct of the cracking unit to make acid, which we will then use to make copper. However, you will produce vastly more acid than you are going to be using to convert copper. So plan to have an acid overflow or a sour water overflow. Either one can be dealt with by sending it to a waste water dump. You can't burn off acid or sour water, thankfully. No one would want acid in the air. Maybe acid is already in the air. Who knows if this rain is safe? But that is, as you can already see, it all has a really, really nice one thing leads to the next, and you can reuse the byproduct. But the first step in all of this is setting up a boiler setup, very similar to the one we've got over here. So I'm going to go ahead and hook this up right now. You've already seen me set this up, so we will have our new boiler setup in 3, 2, 1, and there we go. We have got all of the rainwater collectors set up. I've also added in a groundwater pump to be built, but until we've got copper, we can't finish that. We've set up a priority for, or rather I am setting up a priority to take from the rainwater gatherers before the groundwater pump, and that should fill everything up over there. And we're just waiting on the construction parts now to finish up the boiler. So the next step is to start laying out the beginnings of the diesel distillation. Now we're going to need steam in a lot of different components, so we're probably just going to have the steam branch off in a couple of places. And remember that we're going to want 2 of these per cracking unit. Now, we are eventually going to want to branch this off a little bit more as well so that we can make rubber, and we might actually send that somewhere over here, for example, or maybe even have rubber production down there. So I'm going to preempt that and just leave a little bit of extra room over here so that we can take away the heavy distillate. But the cracking unit then needs to exist somewhere around here. We'll try and line this up so that we can repeat this pattern. Again, we're going to want 2 of these for each cracking unit, and we probably will eventually want extra cracking units. That being said, we could rotate it. No, I think this is going to make the most sense. If we place this down around here, we will want room for the sour water processing a little bit further on, so we're probably going to want to take the diesel to the side and then bring that down here to meet up with the tanker over in that direction. We're going to want a decent amount of steam though, so let's set that one up nice and early. So the steam is going to be coming through on the second level, and I don't see much reason to mess with that. Let's bring that down here, bring it down there as well. Now, unfortunately, this is going to need to be deleted later on because it doesn't quite use these corners well. If you allow it to go into a decline on the corner, it's basically banking this corner down there. You can't easily then branch out from that in the future. One way around that is to make sure that you move one step further forward before starting to decline, but it's a simple enough thing to change later on. Just worth bearing in mind. We're just going to bring this straight out and across, leaving room for that to join up with the distillate here. We can have the steam branch over on this side. Now, we are probably going to want to account for the possibility, well, we are definitely going to want to take steam a little bit further on. So, you know what? We may as well practice what I preach, and we'll move one step over at the second height before going down. But that is hooked up everything we're going to need there. Now, the sour water, for the time being, has nowhere to go, but we will deal with that in just a moment. The actual diesel product then can just run along here, along the same route that our current diesel is moving. That does pose a little bit of a problem, because I would kind of like to be able to just have this on the higher level there, and then just hook up down here. What level is this? I think that might actually only be level 3. Okay, so only on level 3 we should easily be able to connect into that then, in that case. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's bring this out a little bit, up to level 3. And then we will move along underneath this pipe. And it'll look quite nice for as long as the pipe is there, which won't be that long if I'm perfectly honest. The moment we have the advanced diesel processing up and running, we are going to be tearing this entire system down. There will be no reason to have that anymore. I haven't properly anticipated how I'm going to connect that up. We will probably move that around a little bit in the future, but for now, that should be okay. In fact, we can probably... No, we'll allow the system to continue operating as is before tearing all of that up. We will be able to fix any of those issues in the future. The next thing we're going to want to do is start placing down the flare. Now again, I would like to be processing the rubber somewhere over here with a couple of factories. That will actually need steam as well, I believe. Let's have a quick look. No, it's just straight heavy distillate into rubber. That one's beautiful then, because we can easily have a factory complex over here for dealing with that. For the time being, though, we will set up a flare. We'll pop that somewhere around here, I guess. Somewhere about there will do. Right there. And we'll just pipe that across to it. Though, looking at copper refinement, we may well actually be done with copper refinement before we're even done building all of this. So you know what, we're going to... that being said, copper refinement is going to be dealing with the sour water, so I will set up their heavy distillate. We'll almost certainly have that one running. First, I was getting a little bit confused there, my bad. Right, let's bring this up to the second level. There we go. Step one further out, and then run all the way along to hopefully hook up to the flare. There we go, and... we can go down about here. There we are. Perfect. And this can do exactly the same and just hook up there. Okay, that leaves only the sour water. But again, as I was saying, we're probably going to be done with copper refinement before we're actually done with building all of this. So I'm going to let a little bit of time pass, and hopefully we can set up the production and stockpiling of acid before we are ready to actually kick this system into gear. So bring it back in a few moments. And welcome back. There we go. We have got the basic system up and running. As you can see, we have already completed sour water, the copper electrolysis technology, which has allowed us to build and plan in the sour water stripper, though that is still being built. And it's the last part for the system for us to be able to start working on copper plates. That being said, we still need to expand our copper plate refining. We are currently working on synthetic rubber, and we're about halfway through that, but we have finally run out of easy to access surface coal. There's a tiny little bit over there, but I think it's time for us to start properly excavating, and I know a lot of you are going to be quite excited for this part, so I thought I'd bring you back for that. Right, so we are going to want to start, well, honestly, we could start in the middle and work down, or we could start a little bit further on, but I think for the sake of this, we're going to start about here. We're going to go down to, well, we could go all the way down to level 3 if we particularly wanted to. And I see no real reason not to, except that at that depth, we will have a lot of the dirt over here just spilling into the hole and having to dig out around it. That being said, there isn't actually that much dirt there, so perhaps we can actually go all the way down to level 3 if we particularly want to. Let's not flatten it. Let's go all the way down. There we go, down to level 3. And that's where we're going to start flattening out down here. We'll go all the way along at level 3 over there. That will give us access to a lot of coal there. That should keep our coal industry going for a good while. Now, that is obviously an enormous deposit, and we will tap all of it, but it is definitely a warning that we need to start considering getting up here and getting access to all of the coal up there. So with that in mind, let's also add in, right, we can either go up from this ramp here, which is a bit of a circuitous route, or we can try and make our way up around here. And I think going up here is going to be fine. It will possibly run into some issues later on with the copper there, but I think it will actually be quite easy to set up for the most part. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and flatten this area out a little bit. I want to bring that out nice and far, and I would like to, well, actually let's do that there. And then, oops, that is the wrong way of doing it. In fact, let's approach from the other side as well, as I feel that would be a little bit better. Now from here, I would very much like us to start going down. So 21 all the way down to, let's say, 18 over there. We will flatten this area out by here. So ideally something like that. And in fact, we'll go ahead and we'll flatten that area out over there as well. And we're just going to bring this down in a little ramp, moving all the way down until we're at ground level. Now, this is going to be a big project. As you can probably already imagine, this is no small task for us, but I think ultimately we will save a bit of time, maybe. But if nothing else, the rule of cool is going to be in effect here, and it will be very cool to have this awesome little ramp going. I say little. This awesome ramp going all the way up. I think it will actually be pretty amazing. And from there, we can bring this down to ground level. There we go. My lord, that's actually quite large. Actually, you know what? Since we've gone to the effort of doing this ramp all the way down, we may as well finish it off like that. There we go. That is going to take so much slag to complete. Oh my good lord. And some of that will be dirt. Now, one thing to bear in mind with regards to excavations and to filling in an area. Ooh, how close have we done? Oh, we are finishing this off. That is fantastic. We are now producing acid. That is amazing. Let's make sure that is correctly set up. We want to prioritize outgoing to O. I want to give the sour water a priority to be turned into acid, but if I can't, then sure, we can take the overspill and dump that in the ocean. But the thing to be aware of with regards to slag, oil, the various stone chunks, you can only farm on dirt. So if you are not lining an area with dirt, you don't expect to be able to build a farm on it. If, for example, you have been padding an area out with sag, like we've got here, and let's imagine this was flat, you wouldn't be able to build a farm across that. So do be very cautious when it comes to dropping anything in an area. I do believe that if an area is overlapping Let's have a look over here. Is there a way to make sure that they only dump soil here? No, it doesn't look like it. But I believe there is a way, and we'll explore that later, to specify what you're using in an area in order to re-layer an area, if you like. Right, now that we've got all of this set up, and with the synthetic rubber not too distant in the future, let's actually have a look. Have we got enough of anything to run this just yet? We've got plenty of coal, we've got plenty of water. So I guess, what are we looking at here? We've got a stockpile of diesel. Yeah, we've actually filled all of the diesel up. Okay, well, in that case, I guess it's time for us to properly isolate all of this. Let's dig that up. It's going to give us quite a lot of things back. In fact, this whole area now needs to be pulled up. That is going to take a very long time for our trucks to work on, but it will be worth it in the long run. We will remove this and that as well. The moment this is gone, actually it's going to take a truck in order to come over and take care of that, sadly. But I would love to branch across there if I can, just to make that look a little bit easier. Maybe I'll branch from here across to the storage over there. That would be quite nice, though. That being said, it would probably be in my best interest if I had a much larger stockpile of fuel available to us, so perhaps it would be worth me setting that up right now. Let's make sure that we've got a very generous allowance for diesel in the future, so that our refinery can run for quite some time. That should be perfect. We'll be able to run the diesel line down and connect up there. We'll probably be able to fit in a fourth storage, and then I could also lay down a pipe splitter so that we can prioritize fuel to the fueling station, and maybe even add in a second one besides. I think that would actually be quite nice. But on the topic of all of that, we are going to now need to set up a smelting area for copper that will lead into the electrolysis as well. And just as a reminder, the electrolysis, or rather copper electrolysis here, will take 16 impure copper, which is the amount of copper you'll get out of one copper refinery running full bore, since that can run 2 separate metal casters, and each one of those produces 8. We should be able to have a pretty nice inline setup, much like we've got over here for iron. So give me a few seconds to lay down the groundwork, and I shall bring you back in a moment. There we go. And in the time it took me to set all of that up, we have got synthetic rubber researched. Fantastic. Okay, well, there's one last thing that we really want to get up and running, and that is a cargo depot, so we can finally start making use of the cargo ship that, well, currently we haven't even repaired. Though, on that note, how about we head out and do a little bit more exploration? Now, the area north of the island, in my experience so far, has always had a town. Let's see if that holds true right now. We are definitely starting to stockpile the diesel. Now, unfortunately, this fuel station isn't presently set up to accept any extra diesel, which is meaning that my trucks are having to do a couple of additional stops. But right now we're trying to empty out this fluid storage in particular, which is going to take us a little bit of time. I suppose for the meanwhile I could go ahead and set up a little pipe connection just to take some of the pressure off my trucks. That way we can delete this line and then just fully tear this down. In fact, that will probably empty nice and fast now that we've got the ship on the move. So that would probably be a good move for us. Now let's have a look at how things are going down here. We're probably not using very much coal at all, because honestly, we're not using up the steam particularly quickly. Right now we're using only 1 piece of steam every 20 seconds there, so that's 2 in total between the 2 of them. And remember, we produce 8 every 10 seconds. We use another 2 over here, so that's 4. We use another 1 over there, so we're using 5 every 20 seconds. We're producing 16 in that time. So we're over 3 times as much steam as necessary. So this boiler is only actually having to do any work fairly infrequently. As for the setup over here, we have at least one of the copper setups ready. You know what? I'm going to tell it not to accept any kind of import or export. That way, all of this will be managed automatically, and that's going to be true of all of these. This is an entirely automatic process. It would be wonderful if there was some sort of way that I could set that up automatically. As you can see, these things are not cheap. Unfortunately, those are extremely expensive setups there, but that should be fine. We've at least got one side on the way. You know what? Since we have got that going, let's go ahead and prioritize everything we're going to need to have at least just one side of this setup running fully. So we're going to need that. We will also need this done as well. I should have really considered doing this previously, making sure that we had at least one of the full runs complete. There we go, and that should be everything we need. I guess technically we're also going to need these prioritized, but we do actually have quite a lot of parts over there. Right now, we are still choking when it comes to copper plates. Oh, there we go. So it is another town. We've got an extra 16 people that we're going to be bringing back with us. Our ship has discovered a settlement. Hooray! We can trade advanced construction parts, which are, at the end of the day, when you think of the raw resources, wood, iron, and sand, oh, and water, 4 copper plates. That would very much be worth a trade, in my humble opinion. So how about we set up that trade? Products were delivered to our shipyard. Oh, that's fantastic. It's automatic. Oh, it gets more expensive. Well, that's less amazing, I'm not going to lie. But that was actually quite nice that we were able to take that trade straight away. So that's given us a little bit of extra copper. I would very much like this to be built. In fact, I would very much like a second one of these to be built. So before that copper gets squirreled away elsewhere, let's go ahead. I'm going to use 2 Unity just to make sure that all the materials are brought over. Again, hand over hand, having our peeps helping with that. Oh, are we shy of something? Oh, do we not have enough rubber? Well, that is a bit of a problem then. How about we refocus our efforts then on getting rubber up and running? So, we want the rubber makers. This one is, thankfully, a very, very simple little process for us. We just need to hook up to this line down here. Now, realistically speaking, had I considered this well before, I would have prepared this without needing to demolish this stack, but I am going to need to demolish it, sadly. So let's go ahead and set that up to be broken down. That will leave us this pipe out in the open. Honestly, I'm probably going to want to take the entire pipe down, but we might be able to get away without having to do that. Let's see about one rubber maker. If we were to set it up somewhere in line here, perhaps. My trucks are having to come through here still, though, so there's a part of me that doesn't necessarily want to do that. I might have to move the entire pipe just back a little bit, and we also want trucks at the back there as well. So there's quite a few things. It's getting a little bit squeezed in here, really, isn't it? Perhaps then, given that, maybe what I should do instead is have the pipe come down here. I think that may be a better option. Now, I'm going to be able to run 2 of these, basically 1 per cracking unit. So let's have these on a little vertical area over here. That gives us a bit of room for further expansion, should we need it. So there we go. And we will bring down this pipe at that point. We can... What? Oh, my lord, that sounded like an explosion. That did scare me a little bit. Oh, we found some rubber and some copper. Oh, fantastic. And we've also found the end of that little area there, so we can actually head on straight back. Now, with that in mind, we should be able to just bring this all the way down. Might as well, I suppose, just straight across it. In fact, we're going to need to upgrade this, so let's get rid of that entire pipe all in one go. Since I'm going to need to take this up to the 3rd level anyway to just get over several pipes, these 2 pipes are at the 2nd level, so I may as well go all the way up to 3rd so I can cross over there nice and easily. Right, let's have a quick look. How are we doing? Yeah, we're still waiting on the rubber. It's going to take a little while, though we are now deconstructing this, which is fantastic, which does mean that I will be able to lay down the necessary piping in just a moment. But this is the real problem that we're struggling with. It's just a lack of vehicles to use here. I guess I could change over one of these, the sand-bearing vehicles there, but I think right now, well, honestly, they're doing an amazing job getting everything set up down here. They did manage to manually load a little bit before the orders took precedence and stopped that happening, but we'll see how we can go with that in the future. There we are. We've got you hooked up. Let's go up to the 3rd level at this point. Nope, there we go. 3rd level. And from here, let's just head straight on over to here. There we go. I will have this about there. I think that will be the point where we will connect to. Right here. And bring that out. Down to there. Across and down. There we go. And from this position, well, actually, if we want to expand out in that direction, probably don't want that. It may be better for us to allow it to go down to this level and then just run along the ground. Especially since there's no other components necessary here. This way I can just extend this out in that direction without too much issue. If I was running from here, which I would otherwise need to, I would run into the storage over there, which wouldn't exactly be great. Now, if I really wanted to, I could use this. It can burn off 20 light distillate every... 10 light distillate every 20 seconds. This is capable of producing only 2 light distillate every 20 seconds. How much can this produce? 1 light distillate every 20 seconds. So honestly, we could make use of this. And considering that flare requires... Well, actually, it only requires 10 regular construction materials. So we're probably better off just having a separate one down here for that. We can place that about there. There we go. It's always worth having a quick look and just making sure that you know how much something is going to cost before you decide to spend the sometimes extremely pricey requirement to connect a pipe up over a long distance. That would probably have cost us more to pipe over to that flare than to just build another flare over here. And finally, with that done, we can go ahead and place this somewhere down here. Let's have that about there. And for now, we will just allow for a single warehouse for rubber, I think. Yeah, and I'll just run this along. Actually, can we line it up? Sure. We'll line it up underneath the pipe because as we expand out our rubber manufacturing, and we will, that will look increasingly more awesome. All right, now we want at least one of these done, so let's put priority on a single one. There we go, and let's get all of that together. Now, of course, we're going to have to prioritize the entire chain all the way over to the flare, and at least one of the storages, but that shouldn't take us over long to get on the go. How are we doing down here? We've got pretty much everything ready except for this conveyor here, which is going to require just a little bit of extra construction parts too, and this one which requires significantly more, sadly. But I'm very glad to see that we were able to get the necessary rubber over there early enough to get all of that sorted. We've got a little bit left from where the ship just came in. And there we go. Everything is now ready for us to set up. So let's go ahead and place down a pipe balancer. And this can exist. Yeah, sure, we can place it there. That shouldn't be an issue at all. This way we can then have this branch up all the way across. And also branch across to the backup power generators as well. And with that, we can then delete these pipes and then connect this up. Now, we're going to have to wait for this one to be finished. Honestly, if we had the construction materials there, I would have gone ahead and used those just to get that built so I could set up the requirements for it. But at this stage, I'm going to say that the dock should keep fuel available to it. If it's managed to gather the fuel, it should stay there. Let's also send out our ship on a little bit more exploring. I have been somewhat lax in sending that out because I don't really want to do too much off camera. I don't want you to return and find that I've uncovered like 8 or 9 special events and have built half the factory because I was waiting on one particular project to finish. So typically I will just kind of let things sit, and I'm in no great rush to get to them, though that does mean that sometimes things will sit idle for quite some time. That being said, we can definitely afford to speed up time a little bit there. Right, now then, we do want these to be made as something of a priority, if we can get that happening. I know, this is the curse of the level 9 priority from Oxygen Not Included. If you make everything priority level 9, then nothing is priority level 9. There we go. Syndrome, eat your heart out, really, on that one. We are... How are we doing for... Yeah, we've actually got stupid amounts of wood still. I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. But one thing we can do, and probably should, just for the future, is place down a coal maker over here, just as a backup supply to this system. Honestly, I would be happy if we never have to make use of it. But if we do need it, then I will be especially happy to have built it ahead of time. So we'll just do that, connect this up over there. But as soon as that is built, I don't want anyone actually delivering to it. That should be fine. Right, location explored. Wow, that location was amazing. My lord. Have we got enough fuel to get anywhere else? We don't, but that is absolutely fine. The fuel we use to get that much copper plate, my goodness, that's absolutely brilliant. That will, in no small part, finish off quite a lot of the rest of our buildings, frankly. We've managed to finish this groundwater pump, which is fantastic. That is already set up to prioritize, so everything is going well there. Alright, well, all that remains now is to bring over the advanced construction part, and that shouldn't be over long for us to do. Here's the ship coming in. Perfect. All that remains here is advanced construction parts for the most part. Oh, I do need to set this one up. Do be aware that when you build this, unlike a lot of the other like waste disposal buildings, you absolutely need to be very explicit in how you set it, in what you set it up to accept. It does not care otherwise. It will just sit there completely idle. At this point, I'm going to say you can just go ahead and empty it. If there is a need for any of that, please do come and grab that ASAP. And at this point, our trucks are going to be very busy, just moving things around, really. And honestly, at this stage, I wouldn't mind giving us another truck. Just look at that stupidly high consumption there. Oh, my lord, we are a little bit on the lacking of housing side. As a quick solution, we'll get this up and running. That one is... honestly, if I make another thing a priority, it's never going to get built. But still, that is going to be well worth us trying to get to as quickly as we can, because Unity is going to be a big issue for us for a while. On that note, how about we go ahead and research pipes number 2? We can look at construction 2, but that's going to need a little bit more time for us to be anywhere close to ready. We are... let's have a look. Doing okay there. Honestly, thinking about it, we're probably in a position now where the only things that we need are actually, in terms of the building components, it looks like that might be the only thing that's going to require them. So, in fact, we can set that up to a priority, and it's not going to slow anything else down. We should be fine with that. That being said, I would like to set up some new maintenance depots. That would be a wonderful idea, because currently, if we look at what our maintenance needs are, that's 104, and that's with us artificially reducing the amount of maintenance required. That's almost up to the point where we would need to put a boost on this building to even be able to make even on the maintenance. So we definitely need to get a few more things running there. We've got 19 out of the 30 advanced construction materials over here. This should be built relatively quickly, and we'll start to accrue Unity again. But right now, we're at a massive Unity malus, which is a bit of a problem, if I'm perfectly honest. Right now, the other issue that we're having, and something that I haven't really properly addressed, is that presently we're not making any more diesel because we are backstuffed with heavy distillate. At the moment, that's not terribly bad. But with time, that will become quite a problem. We want to prioritize outgoing on O to make sure that our fueling station gets the priority on fresh fuel. But I will have to set up something over here, and possibly a separate stack there, just to deal with heavy distillate. Wasn't something I was considering, but I should have. Let's go ahead and set that up as well, though this won't be a priority down here. Let's possibly pop that over here. Yeah, sure, we'll line that up. It will result in these kind of going squiff a little bit, but that's fine. That can connect up there. This can just go straight down and connect up here. At that point, this can vent both of them. Generally speaking, if we're backing up on heavy distillate, it's because of one of two reasons. Either we're backing up on rubber, in which case we're not going to be making any extra light distillate, so this will be free for us to burn off the heavy distillate, or we're backlogged on light distillate, in which case, don't worry too much about that. We'll eventually clear the light distillate, and then we'll be able to start burning the heavy distillate. That being said, if I really wanted to, and to be sure that I never clogged it up, I could go ahead and build a second flare just for the heavy distillate. And you know what? Sure, we might as well, I suppose. There's no reason not to err on the side of caution with something like that. We place that there. There we go. And they do kind of have a pretty symmetry about them. There we go. We can hook that up right there. All right, at this point then, sadly, I'm going to have to break this entire area. But there is the little trick that I've shown before. If you give it a connection and then tell it to delete, and then delete the connection, it will just delete that section of pipe for you. So that can then be properly hooked up for us. Though it is going to take a little bit to get that done. How are we doing over here? 22 out of the 30. We are so very close. And 55 out of the 80 down here. Not too bad at all things considered. Now, with that, we've got... Yeah, we're producing plenty of the basic construction materials at this stage, so we should be fine with that. Right, we want to connect this pipe up once again. There we go. And run that over to about here and then straight down. There we are. Now we do need to prioritize these, unfortunately, once again, simply because we have changed the way that the system works. There we are. And later on we'll get that all prioritized too. Right, how are we doing? We are on the verge. Hopefully, the next delivery, well, in fact, the next full run of construction materials will be enough, I would hope. It does depend on which one they prioritize delivering to. They might actually deliver over here instead, which would be a bit of a pain. Let's see, where are you going? Ah, thank goodness. Finally, we are going to start seeing some copper plate moving into the factory. There we go. Assuming that we've got some acid over there. Yes, we do. All right, time for us to see that in operation. Now, it does take a solid 40 seconds to do this, which is why I was saying you are going to have way more acid. Even off just a single cracker, you're going to be reducing more than enough sour water to produce ample amounts of acid. We are going to stockpile that fairly aggressively, I should imagine. But as you can see, we're already getting plenty of copper plate on the go, and that is absolutely fantastic. With that, we could, for the time being, allow this, but honestly, I think instead we're going to lay down the groundwork for a second... Oh, wow, you finished that rather quickly. We're going to have that outgoing on O. We'll set this one up then to burn off heavy distillate. So for the time being, we'll at least have diesel running until we can get the first rubber maker up and running. But for the time being, let's go ahead and start laying the groundwork for a better area for making our where are we? Maintenance depot. Let's say something around here. Well, actually, this will eventually go, so it's not too much of a problem, I guess. We could instead place this just down here in amongst the trees. It isn't really going to affect us, but we are going to need two. Ultimately, we want two maintenance depots, and we want room for further expansion beyond that as well. But for the time being, we can just place these there, and this should be good enough. I could expand it a little bit further if I absolutely wanted to, with a little bit of extra storage. And given how important maintenance is, I think we will actually go for that. But for now, let's bring this all the way down and hook that up on one side. This will be for the copper plate, and this one can be then for the iron as well. Let's make that up for iron. I don't want it to be exported, but I don't actually want to import it either. On this side, I don't want to export it, but I will allow them just to import it on there. On here, we want copper plates, and same over here, but we don't want import or export there. And finally, we want to set up these maintenance depots to specifically use the copper plate recipe. And since we're going to have the copper plate being delivered just back here, that'll be nice and easy for us to get going. That is looking fantastic. We have managed to fix our population problem. At this point, how are we doing? Oh, we finally have this up and running. That is amazing. Okay, we're missing an input. And why is... Ah, yes, I see. That's going the wrong way. Let's toggle the direction there. There we go. And that should produce all of the rubber that we're going to need. Now we've got rubber and copper plate coming into the facility. That is absolutely fantastic. We are filling up on diesel. This is grand. Truly grand. Now, we need to start thinking about a cargo depot. This is one of the first buildings that we're going to be building that actually requires concrete as well as other materials. Well, are we going to prioritize this one? No, we're not going to prioritize that one just yet. I am actually going to put the priority on the buildings over here. Let's get these up and running. There we go. All of that on the go, and then I'll start placing down the cargo depot. There we are. Now we need this. Well, we don't strictly need it over there. I guess we could build it over here if we really wanted to. Is it possible to do that, though? Have we got a good enough coastline for it? No. Is there anywhere over here that would work? Yes, there are a couple of places over here. We could kind of squeeze it in there. I could, of course, sculpt the coastline if I really wanted to. Some parts need to be a little bit closer. Is there anywhere around here I could make this work? Maybe not. Perhaps over here, because we've got to have room for a boat, you see. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to do that one this time, which is quite the shame. So I guess we're just going to place it down here. But eventually what I could do is I could sculpt that coastline using allowing our vehicles to deposit over here, for example. And that would actually be quite nice, I think. Let's make sure it's flattening. Let's make sure it's flattening at the correct elevation. There we go. And likewise, let's expand that out just a little bit more. That will do very nicely. There we are. Eventually, we can excavate that area out properly, but that will be for a future move of our cargo stations, specifically of the ones delivering oil to the factory. Let's see if we can't squeeze that in correctly. Where are we? That will do. There we go. Now, the cargo depot, once built, will allow the cargo ships to dock with it. We're going to want a point for delivering fuel here. We're also going to want the fluid modules so that the cargo ship knows what it's meant to do, whether it's meant to collect solid cargo or liquid cargo. In our case, we're going to want it to be collecting liquid cargo wherever possible. Now, we've got a lot of jobs for everything to do right now. We could turn this off for the time being, and might be worthwhile doing that. Oh, well, actually, no, because, well, that being said, we're doing quite well down here, to be fair. I'll allow that to continue running for the time being, but we are now starting to get to the point where we're going to need a little bit of extra power. And the final thing that I want to research for the time being, we've got other options for expanding out our power system, but what I would really like is a low pressure turbine, and that way we are going to be able to build the power system that's probably going to carry us for the next little while, actually, for a good long while, if I'm perfectly honest. Right, we've got a couple of things that we want to let finish building, and it's going to take a fair few crafting parts, so I'm going to pass a little bit of time here and get all of these buildings up and ready, and I shall bring you back when it is time for us to actually get out there and repair our cargo ship. So see you in a few moments. Okay, the cargo depot is almost complete. We just need 2 advanced construction parts, and they're probably very soon on their way. Yeah, that's just kicked into gear. I have loaded up the dock ready for us to head out and repair the cargo ship, so let's get out there and do that straight away. Set that up to deliver cargo, and while that's on its way, let's have a look at what we've managed to change. I've deleted the old maintenance depot as we have completed setup of the 2 maintenance depots over here. We have started loading up the storages with iron and copper plate, and so we're pretty good for maintenance for quite some time. Currently, we have a global need of 108, but we have, that is every 60 seconds, but we have a production of 220, so that should take us quite far into the future. And there we go, the cargo dock is complete. Now, the cargo ship will pull into port soon enough, but until you've set up the cargo dock to tell it what to expect to carry, the cargo ship won't actually be able to carry anything. It will be configured based on the dock that it's assigned to. So what we're going to want to do, as the first cargo ship is pretty much exclusively going to be set up for delivering oil. Oh, there we go. The cargo ship is on its way in. Bit of a drift. Wow, you are coming in way too fast. Nevertheless, hello. Now, I'm actually glad that it pulled in, because when we place this down, you'll see how it changes the ship. There we go. We have designated that area of the ship now for liquid storage. And we're going to go ahead and do that for both of these. There's absolutely no reason not to. Now, there's a couple of things we're going to need to do. First and foremost, we're going to want this area to have its own fuel supply, because it's going to need to top up the cargo ship. And we're going to need to pipe this in so that it can actually get rid of the crude oil once it arrives. So before we get to that, how about we send out our ship for another bit of an explore? You know what, we can head on down there, sure, why not? Now, the next step in getting automated oil deliveries is, of course, to have an oil rig out there drilling for oil for us. Now, that's going to take us a little bit of time to prepare for, because sadly we are going to need a lot more advanced construction parts, and we're currently setting up quite a few of them to be used down here. But we are going to need to have some diesel deliveries made. Now, honestly, at this point, we could just have a fluid storage and have that be delivered via truck. I'm not against this idea, but it does mean that the trucks would have to have a delivery route through here, whereas if we were just piping it down, that might be a little bit better for us. But that is going to put a bit of an extra strain on this little area here. So it's a bit of 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, really, on what would be the best option. Of course, the other thing I could do is I could give it even priority with our diesel stockpile, and to a certain degree that isn't a bad idea. If we branch it off here, then it would have equal priority to our fuel for the actual vehicles in our colony. But considering it's going to be responsible for bringing the fuel to our colony, or at least it will be once we have completely exhausted the deposit over here, and we're 50% of the way there, that isn't actually a bad idea. So I think we're going to go ahead and just connect up here. Now, ultimately, I would like to have a little bit more control over this, and to have it dealing with specific priorities that I can control through a balancer. But for now, I think this will be okay if we just hook this up. It's a bit of a quick and dirty method, I know, but we'll just have to live with that one for now. There we go, and we'll just connect up there. Perfect. Now, as for the crude oil itself, we can just run that out there and connect up. That shouldn't be too difficult at all. Now, this absolutely an area where we have candidacy for running the pipe 2s. We are going to be putting a lot of strain on this particular pipeline. Now, let me line that up properly. There we go. There we are. And connect up there. However, for the time being, I'm not going to worry over much about that one, but it is definitely one of the first places that we're going to have to update, because we're going to be able to push a lot of liquid out of these containers. We might also want to consider having a much larger stockpile of crude oil. That may well be worth it for us. I can also give priority to one or t'other, and that might well be worth it as well. There we go. I kind of figured that we were overdue for seeing some pirates, but all right. Well, we'll send the main ship back for now. Then we'll have to get it a little bit more repaired. But giving it priority over the oil pumps will not only extend the length of time that we have oil reserves on the island, but these draw power. This does not. So, I mean, it uses fuel, but it would actually give us a bit of more wiggle room with our power generation, because currently we are actually having to make use of the diesel generators. And so, yeah, we are well overdue on upgrading our current steam power generation. Hopefully that will be something we can do in the very beginning of the next episode, though, because sadly we have run out of time. A little bit over time, if I'm perfectly honest, but that is usually the way with this game. So the last thing for me to say is thank you ever so much for joining me. I really do hope you have enjoyed, and as always, if you like what you saw and you want to see more, do consider leaving a comment or a like down below. The comments themselves will do double duty this time, as once again, like the last video, I will be selecting one comment at random to win one of the 2 remaining game keys. I will announce the winner in the following video. You can check the video description for more information on the giveaway if you're interested, but that is going to be it from me. So until next time, and as always, do take care, everyone.